The year is 1420, and Europe is a mess. Wars, plagues, and the usual medieval nonsense are in full swing. In the middle of it all, a man who seems straight from Hell's Kitchen. Except, he didn't run around in red leathers wearing little horns on his head. Žižka, a Czech warrior who didn't let little things like total blindness stop him from leading armies and changing history. A blind man in battle sounds like an accident waiting to happen. But Žižka was one of a kind, a man with motive. If you think fighting blindfolded is impressive, wait till you hear what he did with farming tools. This is the story of Žižka, the blind warrior who made the battlefield his playground. Grab a cane, because this one's a blinder. Žižka wasn't born into fame. His early life was as ordinary as it gets for the 14th century. You know, scraping by, avoiding plague rats, and praying the local lord didn't take a shine to your livestock. Then, somewhere along the way, he became a soldier. A bit of a career shift, but hey, times were rough. By all accounts, Žižka had a knack for strategy and a fire under his arse that burned hotter than the Great Fire of London. He fought in various skirmishes and wars, building up his reputation as well as his regime. And then, something he didn't see coming, he lost an eye. A lost eye might be a sign to pass the mantle on to someone with a working set of eyes, but Žižka? Nah. He slapped an eye patch on, muttered something about minor inconveniences, and carried on. If anything, it just made him look more intimidating. But fate still had more up her sleeve for the one-eyed warrior. Žižka eventually lost his second eye in another battle, rendering him completely blind. At this point, I'd be on the first guide horse home wondering what I'd done to get on Karma's bad side. Not Jan. He was in the market for another eye patch. He decided that being blind was just a minor obstacle in his quest to make history. His enemies must have thought they'd have an easy time now. Imagine their surprise when this blind bloke not only continued to fight but started outsmarting them in every turn. He had this uncanny ability to see the battlefield in his head, probably better than most sighted commanders could with their eyes wide open. One of his greatest achievements was turning common wagons into mobile fortresses, known as the wagon forts. These contraptions were like medieval tanks. Farmers' carts turned into death machines. Talk about thinking outside the box. If Žižka had access to IKEA, I reckon he'd have conquered half of Europe with flat-pack ingenuity. Žižka's rise coincided with the Hussite movement, a religious rebellion against the Catholic Church. The Hussites were underdogs, a ragtag group of peasants and rebels who were fed up with paying for indulgences while the clergy lived like kings. Žižka became their leader, and with him at the helm, they punched well above their weight. One of the most famous battles was the Battle of Sodoma. Outnumbered and concerned with a superior enemy force, Žižka didn't panic. Instead, he lured the enemy into a swampy area where their heavy cavalry was useless. His wagons formed an impenetrable wall, and his soldiers rained down arrows and gunfire. It was a tactical masterclass. Imagine being one of those knights, charging in full armour only to find yourself stuck in the mud while a blind man and a bunch of peasants systematically take you apart. It's like losing a chess game to someone who isn't even looking at the board. Žižka wasn't just a great commander, he was a man of principles. He fought for equality and fairness, believing that everyone, regardless of rank, deserved the chance to stand up to oppression. He wasn't perfect, far from it, but he had a way of inspiring loyalty and courage in his men. One of his soldiers once said, "Žižka sees more with no eyes than most men do with two." That's the kind of compliment you'd have brailed on your tombstone. And he wasn't above a bit of dark humour either. When asked how he managed to lead battles without sight, he apparently quipped, "I don't need eyes to hear the enemy scream." Brutal, but effective. Žižka died in 1424, not from battle wounds, but from illness. Even in death, he left an impression. Legend has it that he asked for his skin to be made into drumheads, so he could continue to lead his troops into battle. Whether or not that actually happened is up for debate, but it sums up his character perfectly. A man who even in death didn't want to miss a beat. Žižka wasn't just a warrior, he was a force of nature. Blind, battle-scarred and utterly relentless. He showed no disadvantage in his disability and cracked on with what he wanted to achieve. So what do you think? Was this man a military genius? His story is one for the ages. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. and I'll see you in the next one. Just remember, next time you're having a bad day, just think back to this man.